Do you truly know the groundbreaking women who shaped tabletop RPG history? Or maybe more to the point, have you even encountered their stories?
Yeah.
Amidst the well-worn narratives we often hear.
Yeah, it's a good question because when we think back, when we reflect on the origins of this incredible hobby, our cultural memory often brings up a specific picture, maybe an incomplete one.
Exactly. And today, we're taking let's say, a relaxed but still deeply insightful journey. We're diving into some really fascinating source material. Our guide for this deep dive is this compelling piece from LitRPG Reads. It's titled 9 Influential Female Creators Who Shaped the History and Evolution of Tabletop RPG.
Great article.
It is. And we're about to explore stories that have, well, frankly, for far too long, been overlooked in the mainstream historical accounts.
And that really gets right to the heart of what this article unpacks, doesn't it? For decades, the historical narratives of role-playing games have, as the source puts it so well, been worn smooth by repetition.
Right, worn smooth.
And that smoothing process, unfortunately, often meant just skipping these figures completely, choosing instead to focus kind of narrowly on a familiar list of male luminaries.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Exactly. And this selective memory, as the article calls it, it's not accidental, it's not benign, it's painted as a direct consequence of systemic biases.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like gatekeeping, dismissive attitudes, and maybe just the comfort, of those entrenched myths. The ones that painted gaming as this exclusive brotherhood. It's a really powerful and I think necessary acknowledgement. It shows how history, even in something like tabletop gaming, can be, curated to exclude.
Absolutely. And our mission today for you listening is to help maybe clarify that picture a bit, to fill in those really crucial missing pieces.
Yeah.
Because these women, they were so far from being sideline participants. The article nails it.
Yeah.
They shaped every axis of RPG culture.
Every axis. Think about that.
Yeah, think about it. Inventing entire story frameworks, transforming how we even interact at the game table, reimagining combat, redefining collaborative storytelling itself.
Yeah, it's huge.
Their innovations weren't just like minor tweaks or adding some detail here and there. They fundamentally upended assumptions. Assumptions about whose voices defined play, who got to invent, how creativity flowed between the designer and the player.
Right, that flow is key.
So we're going to dive deep into their individual stories. We'll highlight their specific innovations and in doing so, celebrate these trailblazers whose contributions, even if you didn't realize it, they echo. They echo in every modern campaign, every rule book, every single dice roll. We're kind of redrawing the historical margins of this amazing hobby.
And this deep dive is just so important. Because, as the source points out, dismissing or overlooking these influences distorts the true inheritance of role-playing.
It really does. You lose so much context.
Exactly. To genuinely understand what makes today's games, which are often so multifaceted, daring, wonderfully inclusive, sometimes what makes them possible, we need to trace not just the biggest names, but the entire network, that whole interconnected web of contributors.
Especially those forced to work at the edges.
Especially those who were, forced to work at the edges of what was, let's face it, a nascent and sometimes pretty unwelcoming industry back then. And doing this, it isn't just like an act of historical justice, though it is that too. It's more profound. The article calls it an invitation.
An invitation? How so?
Well, by walking these paths these women paved, you, the listener, you get to inherit a richer, more layered genre. It's a legacy that should inspire every player, every designer to imagine bigger, right? To reach further, to continually welcome new pioneers.
Yeah, people whose contributions might never have even been conceived within those old, narrow blueprints.
Precisely. It's about seeing the full, vibrant tapestry, not just a few threads.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more then. Setting the scene for the early RPG era. It is undeniably true that cultural memory often paints early RPG history in broad slabs of gray and blue.
Yeah, that classic image.
Populated by men who matched dice mythos with the bravado of beer-soaked college dorms. It's a compelling picture, maybe a little simplistic, but easy to fall into.
Definitely.
But if you actually take the time, like this article did, to really start peering into the written correspondence, the fanzines, and the meeting minutes from those same years,
the actual record,
a more tangled, vibrant story emerges. And that's the story we want to explore today. The rich, often surprising one where women weren't just there, They were profoundly influential.
Indeed. And what becomes incredibly clear when you actually dig into those archives is that at pretty much every step of their journey, these pioneering women, they crashed against glass walls.
Constantly, it sounds like.
Yeah. The industry spaces back then, already pretty insular, sometimes overtly hostile to anyone seen as an outsider, and they often demanded proof beyond proof from these women, meaning they required these testaments to skill, focus, and relentless drive that went way beyond what was expected of their male colleagues. It was just this constant, exhausting uphill battle just to be recognized, taken seriously, have their contributions acknowledged.
Their perseverance must have been incredible.
Oh, it's a testament to their passion and their vision, absolutely.
And despite this huge systemic challenge, they didn't just persist, they innovated, didn't they?
Massively. They redefined what a module could be, who could write it, and how community assembled around shared storytelling. They pushed past ridicule, sometimes outright hostility, and designed with this really remarkable blend of wit and grit.
Wit and grit, I like that.
Yeah. And that blend, as the source notes, it actually seeded future cultures of inclusivity within the hobby itself.
So their impact wasn't just on the games.
Not at all. It was on the very social fabric of gaming. It's a powerful illustration, right? How passion and brilliance, even facing resistance, can fundamentally shift a cultural landscape.
Okay, so let's start with the first name on the list, Lee Gold. She's often cited as a truly foundational figure.
Yeah.
Came up in the 70s, right? When the whole RPG landscape was, well, nascent is putting it mildly.
Barely stretching beyond mimeographed newsletters and garage conventions. Yeah, very early days. And her primary, arguably most profound contribution, her stewardship of Alarms and Excursion, or A&E, as it's often called.
Right, A&E.
The source describes it as this unassuming periodical that somehow, against all odds, mutated into the lodestone of community-driven RPG discourse.
What made it so significant? Why a lodestone?
Well, Gold wasn't just an editor in the usual sense. She was a cultivator, actively forging intellectual kinship and a participatory ethic that was really rare in genre media back then.
Okay, so more than just publishing articles.
Much more. And what's really fascinating is its status as an APA pioneer. An APA, an amateur press association. It was this unique kind of self-published zine network.
How did that work exactly?
Basically, individuals would write, print, and mail their own contributions to a central editor, in this case Gold. She'd then collate everything, bind it, and redistribute the whole packet back to all the members.
Ah, so everyone saw everyone else's work. Highly collaborative.
Exactly, a very distributed form of publishing and discussion. And A&E wasn't just an RPG periodical, it was the first dedicated RPG periodical. And incredibly, it maintained uninterrupted monthly publication for 45 plus years.
45 years. Monthly.
45 years. Think about that consistency. For a volunteer-run zine in a niche hobby, it's just astounding. Speaks volumes about her vision and dedication.
Wow. Okay, so beyond A&E, which is huge in itself, she also did game design work. That often gets overshadowed, maybe.
Yeah, it does sometimes. Her credits include games like Land of the Rising Sun and Lands of Adventure, and these really showcased her penchant for bold, cross-cultural synthesis and meticulous playtesting.
So not just standard fantasy tropes.
Not at all. She was blazing paths through rarely trodden settings and mechanics. She demonstrated pretty unequivocally that independent authorship could punch as hard as any corporate effort. Proof that deep, innovative design wasn't just for the big companies.
She really empowered indie creators then.
Massively. Her influence, as the source puts it beautifully, radiates not with the blinding wattage of corporate PR, but with the slow, deliberate burn of community.
A slow burn.
Yeah. A&E evolved into not only an archive of emergent RPG theory, but a safe haven for women and other marginalized creators. That's a crucial detail, right? For an industry often unwelcoming.
Absolutely vital.
Through her encouragement and refusal to gatekeep, she actively opened space for new contributors. She built bridges between different gaming scenes that might have just stayed isolated otherwise.
So her legacy isn't just the zine itself.
No, it's much broader. It's in every independent RPG zine, every experimental module, and every social media thread devoted to the craft of communal storytelling today. She laid that essential groundwork for the vibrant indie DIY spirit that still defines so much of tabletop RPGs.
Incredible. Okay, next up, Jennell Jaquays. Her fingerprints run deep in the architectural bones of early adventure modules.
Yeah.
That sounds like she really shaped how we visualize game world.
Oh, profoundly. Not just how we play, but how we literally see and navigate these spaces, setting new standards for map design, really. But what's crucial to understand about her early work, she often operated under the slightly ambiguous pen name Paul Jaquays.
Right, Paul. Why was that?
Well, she took the Dungeoneer, which was a fairly small fanzine, and transformed it into this design laboratory for new ideas, but that masking of identity. Unfortunately, it was a common, painful reality for many women back then.
Just couldn't get published under their own names easily.
Pretty much. Professional constraints forced Jaquays to mask her identity, and the prevailing industry attitudes pressed her and so many others against glass ceilings, made it incredibly difficult for their contributions to be openly recognized.
That highlights the systemic issues, but also her talent must have shown through regardless.
Absolutely. It underscores the immense talent and perseverance needed just to break through those barriers. Her brilliance definitely shone through.
And despite those deeply frustrating constraints, her later work at Judges Guild and Chaosium, the article says it broke open the boundaries of what published adventures could accomplish.
It really did. Her whole approach to design was revolutionary for the time, especially when a lot of design was still quite rudimentary.
What was so revolutionary about it? The maps.
The maps were a huge part of it, yeah. Before Jaquays, many dungeon maps were often quite flat, linear, predictable even. Hers, though, offered verticality and surprise. They completely eschewed the linearity that dominated the era's publications.
Verticality and surprise, like multiple levels.
Exactly. Take Caverns of Thracia, prime example. Instead of just one plane of rooms and corridors, her maps had multiple levels, shafts, unexpected connections, creating this truly three-dimensional space that felt alive. Complex.
Wow.
She wasn't just drawing maps. She was defining RPG publishing standards, designing these incredible non-linear dungeon maps, developing complex, multi-threaded narrative scenarios. Her adventures really throbbed with stories demanding to spill outside bounds.
So she influenced rules, narrative, tone, everything.
Yeah, it all interconnected, impacting how stories could be told within those spaces for years to come.
So it sounds like modern RPGs, particularly the ones focused on exploration, layered environments, they still reflect the scaffolding Jaquays built way back then.
Oh, definitely. Designers today are still riffing on her multidimensional layouts, that flexible narrative logic, echoing her insistence that geography should serve the story, serve the player's experience, not just constrain it.
So when you enter a dungeon that feels like a real place, with hidden depths and unexpected paths,
you're experiencing a direct lineage from her work. Absolutely. And beyond that architectural genius in game design, her unflinching openness about her identity as an out-trans woman and advocate. That sets such a powerful standard.
Yeah, for visibility and courage.
Within a community still grappling with inclusivity, definitely, her life became a living argument, for the necessity of inclusion, empathy, unrestrained imagination. Her journey from masked identity to public touchstone for the LGBTQ+ gaming community, it mirrors the evolving arc of the RPG community itself.
A profound impact on design and culture.
Absolutely, inspiring countless others to be their authentic selves.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to Judith Karastan. Her mark arrived with that first wave of independent supplements. Sounds like she helped kickstart the whole indie scene we see today.
Yeah, she really did. Her most impactful contribution, co-authoring Palace of the Vampire Queen, which, incredibly, was the first third-party D&D module ever released.
The first ever. What was the significance of that?
You have to remember, back then, official stuff from TSR largely defined legitimacy, defined the content. This module, Palace of the Vampire Queen, it just detonated expectation.
How so?
It showed that adventure content could be created and owned by anyone with a typewriter and enough ambition. Before this, if you wanted an official D&D adventure, you bought it from TSR. Karastan's module proved independent creators could make stuff fully compatible with the game without needing official approval or big corporate backing.
Wow, that is radical for the time.
Totally radical. It fundamentally changed the landscape of game publishing and content creation.
So she was instrumental in, democratizing game content.
That's a great way to put it. She helped turn the third-party supplement from a risky side hustle into an engine of innovation, directly breaking TSR's monopoly over the shaping of fantasy spaces.
Yeah, what felt like a closed system suddenly became an open invitation. The floodgates just crashed open for other mavericks.
Exactly. She basically said, you don't need a corporate stamp to create amazing content. And her contributions went beyond just the publishing model. She introduced significant innovation in adventure design, too.
Like what?
Complex puzzles, genuinely open-ended exploration, stuff less common in early, more linear modules. She actively championed accessibility for homebrew and indie publishers to compete with major companies, empowering a whole new generation of creators.
And she supported networks between creators.
Yeah, supported publishing networks connecting fanzines, zines, and module creators, fostering this vital, interconnected ecosystem where ideas and designs could spread and evolve outside official channels. It's just this towering legacy of independent spirit, grassroots empowerment.
So it's fair to say that whole genres, investigative horror, comedic, dungeon crawls, all that stuff, they owe a debt to this willingness to expand beyond corporate templates.
Absolutely. Her work really helped stoke a culture of critical experimentation, which ultimately led to this amazing patchwork of styles and systems, leaving RPGs richer, wilder, and infinitely more inclusive. She showed the best adventures, the most boundary-pushing ones, might not come from the official catalog. They could emerge from anywhere.
Okay, next, Lillian Lee Russell. She etched out a place with Tunnels and Trolls, Solo Adventure, #3 Labyrinth. Sounds like this broke some serious ground, not just in content, but its very existence.
It absolutely did. The significance of Labyrinth, you really can't overstate it, for one very specific reason. For the first time in RPG history, the byline on such a module belonged to a woman.
The first time, wow.
Yeah, it was a quiet but seismic shift. In an industry that had historically denied women visible creative authority, often pushing them behind the scenes if they were even allowed in. In a field notorious for exclusion, Russell's authorship wasn't just personal achievement, it cracked open the possibility of solo play and solo design.
Showing a single player could have that rich RPG experience without a GM.
Exactly, and demonstrating it could be done, and done well, by anyone, regardless of gender.
And the adventure itself, Labyrinth. How did it stand out design-wise for solo play?
It wasn't just another module. It's described as a signature of unrestrained narrative experimentation. Unlike many early adventures focusing just on combat or simple crawls, Russell sculpted puzzles, traps, and encounters that channeled both mythic danger and personal introspection.
Introspection in a solo module.
Yeah. Her unique style embedded story seeds in every corridor, meaning every choice, every room, hinted at a larger narrative. This effectively shifted creativity's locus to the internal theaters of each player alone with their fate.
So instead of group interaction, it became this deeply personal, almost literary journey.
Precisely, where the player's imagination was the main engine of the story. A really profound shift in how designers thought about the player's role.
That's quite an innovation. Like bringing that choose-your-own-adventure style into RPGs, but way more nuanced and engaging than what had been seen before.
Definitely. So yeah, it's not a stretch to say writers of modern CYOA books, even complex digital RPGs with branching narratives, they can trace a line back to this innovation, back to her pioneering spirit.
Her impact wasn't just that a woman wrote it then.
No, her lasting impact came not only from that or the groundbreaking format, but explicitly by her refusal to write within the lines of established RPG conventions. Russell's approach just reshaped expectations. Proved women could author vital supplements. Proved solo play could breed as much excitement as any table of dice slingers.
So every modern solo adventure carries echoes of her work.
In its essence, yeah. Echoes of her groundbreaking vision and her courageous push against traditional boundaries.
Okay, next up, Liz Danforth. Described as a singular force at Flying Buffalo, Inc. Multi-talented. Editing, illustrating, and designing. Sounds like she did it all.
She really was multifaceted. Her extensive work on Tunnels and Trolls, continually refining mechanics and narrative style, but also, maybe more broadly, her keen editorial vision transformed Sorcerer's Apprentice.
That was their house magazine.
Yeah, and she turned it from an in-house rag into a beacon for critical commentary, new talent, and design exploration. She wasn't just doing a job, she was shaping the actual discourse around RPGs, creating a platform for thoughtful analysis, creative expression within the hobby.
Her dual role as artist and editor must have given her a unique perspective.
Absolutely. On that intersection of aesthetics and functioning game design.
It sounds like she was a real advocate for quality, and for new voices too. Ensuring the scene maintained a high standard. Her advocacy for accessibility, sharp prose, and careful editing that raised expectations industry-wide. How big an impact was that?
Oh, it was transformative. Her insistence on clarity, readability, meticulous editing, it elevated the craft for everyone. Before her efforts, lots of early RPG stuff was, frankly, pretty raw. dense, sometimes poorly organized.
Making things more user-friendly then.
Far more. And crucially, her attention to emerging voices really stood out. In every issue, every supplement she touched, she wasn't just editing, she was actively mentoring. The source says she was as likely to appear beside cover art as in the editorial credits.
Oh.
Tirelessly mentoring new writers and showcasing underheard perspectives. And get this, she was a key voice in Sorcerer's Apprentice for 20 plus years.
20 years. That kind of consistent influence in a fast-moving field is incredible.
Speaks volumes about her dedication, right?
So, editor, designer, illustrator, standard setter, and a long-term key voice championing new talent. That's an enormous range for one person.
It really is. And the standards Danforth set linger in every subsequent RPG publication. Her insistence on clarity, craftsmanship, good presentation, it bled outward. Elevated the editorial bar for what could plausibly reach print industry-wide.
Her influence goes beyond formal publications, too.
Oh yeah. It resonates through grassroots zines and blog culture today. Independent creators still striving for quality accessibility, every editor mentoring overlooked talent, every publisher prioritizing both art and mechanics. They owe a significant debt to Danforth's legacy.
She showed the editorial desk could be just as influential as the design table.
Exactly. Meticulously refining, nurturing, shaping the genre just as much.
Okay, next we arrive at Jean Wells, the first woman hired as a game designer at TSR, the D&D company. Just hearing that title. She plowed through fields littered with glass for every inch of ground she gained. It's not like a real struggle.
Oh, undoubtedly. Her fingerprints are indelibly on foundational works like the Dungeon Master's Guide, a core rulebook that defined game mastering for generations, and specifically, Palace of the Silver Princess.
Right, that module has a history, doesn't it?
It does. It carved a singular place in D&D history, not just for content, but the controversies around it. It's vital to acknowledge TSR's internal politics attempted to erase or diminish her achievements. Some initial print runs were recalled, heavily edited to remove her content.
Recalled and edited. That's brutal.
Yeah. But despite those attempts at suppression, the audacious originality and spirit of these works refused erasure. It's a stark reminder of the systemic challenges she faced. Even within the company, a woman's creative output faced unique scrutiny, attempts at diminishment.
Her story sounds like creative ambition crashing right into institutional resistance.
Yeah.
She didn't just design, she challenged things.
Absolutely. She authored the first female-led adventure module, groundbreaking just for placing women at the narrative center, and she aimed to democratize dungeon design, trying to invite girls and underrepresented voices into the gaming fold.
So advocacy wasn't just a choice for her.
No, it became a daily occupation. She refused to cede ground to intimidation or erasure.
What did that democratization of dungeon design actually look like?
Well, it meant moving away from dungeons that were just, monster-filled meat grinders, often designed with a very specific, maybe male-centric play style in mind. Wells introduced more narrative elements, puzzles, chances for social interaction, problem-solving, stuff that appealed to a broader audience.
Including girls and women who might have found combat-heavy stuff less inviting.
Exactly. Integrating elements allowing different kinds of engagement, not just hack and slash. And beyond design, she played this vital, though often uncredited, role mentoring. Mentoring younger women and minorities at TSR, fostering inclusive workplace practices within that very male-dominated environment.
Her courage in facing that, speaking out.
It illuminated and forced conversations. Conversations on representation, pay equity, authorship credit, stuff that continues to echo through the industry today. Her story resonates as this call for vigilance and bravery across the whole community, a reminder that fighting for recognition is a continuous thing.
So her struggle directly impacted future generations of designers, laid bare issues others would keep facing.
Without a doubt. It highlighted the fight for recognition, representation, a fight that's ongoing. The source concludes really powerfully that without Wells's candor and creative ferocity, female designers at major publishers might still find themselves apologizing for their vision. Instead, her profound legacy makes every table where girls and women roll dice in their own voice not only possible, but inevitable. She made space for countless players to see themselves, for future designers to create without that same self-censorship.
Now let's talk about Rose Estes. She injected fresh blood into the role-playing world by inventing the Endless Quest series. This sounds pivotal for broadening the hobby's appeal, right? Getting it beyond that initial niche audience.
Oh, completely pivotal. What's truly remarkable about Endless Quest is how SDs redefined RPG engagement. These were groundbreaking modules that read like novels. They plunged players into branching narratives that broke the mold of standard tabletop play.
So, like solo adventures, but in book form.
Exactly. Unlike traditional RPGs needing a GM and a group, Endless Quest books offered a solo experience. And ST strategically positioned herself at the intersection of education and adventure. Brilliant move.
Why education?
Well, it helped entice reluctant readers and young fans. Kids who might have been intimidated by complex rules or group dynamics. She tapped into that existing love for storytelling, for adventure, making RPG concepts accessible through a familiar format. Books.
And these books were hugely popular, weren't they?
Massive. They truly shattered marketing assumptions about who could enjoy fantasy games, who the target audience really was.
So not just teenage boys in basements anymore.
Not at all. By layering interactive fiction with engaging, even educational elements, SDs cultivated a breed of RPG storytelling that invited parents, teachers, and whole families into the fold. Revolutionary. Product lines multiplied. And as a direct result, those demographic boundaries for RPGs faded considerably.
She proved the appeal was much broader than anyone thought.
Yeah, showed the appeal of RPG ideas could extend far beyond the typical gamer demographic, reaching new generations, opening the hobby to new contexts like classrooms, family living rooms.
So her vision connects to so much today. Interactive novels, digital adventure books, classroom RPGs, they all trace their DNA to her work at TSR.
Exactly right. Hard to imagine those genres without her foundational contributions. She effectively opened doors to fans outside the prototypical gamer demographic, really championing broader accessibility and diversity long before these became industry buzzwords.
Oh.
Her books did more than sell millions. They made belonging possible for countless readers who'd never set foot in a game shop, ultimately freeing the genre to imagine ever wider horizons. She showed the core appeal wasn't just mechanics, it was interactive storytelling, a lesson echoing across all interactive media today.
Okay, let's move on to Margaret Weis. She entered the industry when licensed tie-in often meant hack work, just churning out stuff to capitalize on a name, often low quality. But she clearly transcended that.
Oh, massively. What's fascinating is her co-creation of Dragonlance with Tracy Hickman. This wasn't just a game or just books. It was truly a multimedia saga fusing literary ambition with innovative campaign design.
Multimedia saga. How did that work?
Well, Weis's writing was revolutionary because it intertwined novels and rulebooks, built this tapestry encouraging players to inhabit layered, living worlds. Instead of just lore as background, the novels gave deep character arcs, overarching plots that players could directly interact with through the game modules.
Ah, so the books and games fed each other.
Exactly. This integrated approach, narrative of the books informing the game, vice versa, groundbreaking for its time, brought a narrative cohesion largely absent before, made the world feel truly alive.
And her impact went beyond Dragonlance too, right? She got into independent publishing.
That's absolutely right. Demonstrated real entrepreneurial spirit, found Sovereign Press, Margaret Weis Productions. These studios weren't just extensions of her past work, they actively pushed narrative-driven system design into new territories.
Meaning game systems where story and character were baked into the mechanics.
Precisely. Rather than being secondary, they focused on publishing beloved properties and supporting diverse creators, expanding the types of stories and settings available. Her fingerprints, as the source says, can be found on nearly every corner of RPG storytelling, from rule systems to long-running fiction series, just an incredible body of work.
So it's fair to say storytelling in RPGs owes much of its modern breadth to Weis. How did her hybrid approach change the game for players?
Her hybrid approach, melding the emotional rigor of novels with collaborative emergent play, it fundamentally brought legitimacy and literary audacity to RPGs.
Yeah.
Players weren't just on the edge of the story anymore in disconnected encounters.
They were in it.
Yeah, they lived, loved, and lost within massive interconnected mythologies. Mythologies with the depth, the emotional resonance of a good novel, created this unprecedented level of immersion, emotional connection. Choices felt like they had real weight within this sprawling epic narrative.
Shifted RPGs from just mechanics to powerful vehicles for shared personal stories.
Oh, absolutely. And her ventures into independent publishing, they anticipated modern trends, established creative independence as a gold standard. She didn't just follow, she led. reshaped the very infrastructure of RPG communities and publishing.
So through her writing, company leadership, mentorship.
Yeah, she literally prepared the ground for ever wilder dreams yet to surface in the industry. Her influence isn't just nostalgia, it's a dynamic force still shaping how narratives are conceived, published, experienced in tabletop RPGs. Showed creative control and compelling storytelling could go hand in hand with success outside the big corporate giants.
Last but certainly not least, Lisa Stevens, who sliced through the industry's tangled undergrowth, shaping the destiny of multiple publishers. Sounds like a true industry titan, a strategic force.
She truly is. Her journey. It started at Lion Rampant, small company, where she helped cook up the foundational brew that spilled into White Wolf. Vampire the Masquerade defined a whole subgenre.
Wow, right at the start of White Wolf.
Yeah. Then she carried that strategic spark to Wizards of the Coast, played a pivotal role in resurrecting D&D from its slump, and crucially was instrumental in launching Magic, the Gathering.
Launching Magic. That alone recalibrated the landscape of hobby gaming worldwide.
Oh, completely shifted focus, resources, everything. Her impact on these huge companies, guiding them through critical growth.
Yeah.
You just can't overstate it. Master strategist, implementer.
And then, after all that, she moves to Paizo Publishing, her most prominent role, unleashing Pathfinder.
Yeah, not just a side project. It transformed into this sprawling juggernaut, completely changed the RPG mainstream landscape, especially after shifts with D&D's open gaming license.
How did she manage that?
It's astounding. Under her calm, laser-focused leadership, the company shattered assumptions about who owned the RPG mainstream. When many thought one company would dominate, Paizo, under Stevens, showed a formidable challenger could emerge and thrive.
She was known for her business sense, but also community building.
Both. Renowned for her creative business sense, seeing opportunities, executing, and her remarkable knack for forging communities where designers, artists, and fans alike could flourish. She wasn't just a profit margin calculator. She built environments where collaboration, passion were prioritized. Huge factor in Pathfinder's success.
And she was a strong champion of the open gaming license, the OGL. Why was championing that such a big legacy?
Great question, because it's critical. The OGL, basically a public copyright license from Wizards, let others use, modify, distribute parts of D&D's core rules freely, without royalties, if they followed the terms. It democratized game design on an unprecedented scale.
And Stevens embraced it for Pathfinder.
Embraced and championed it. Transformative. Instead of a closed proprietary system, Paizo built Pathfinder on that open framework derived from D&D's OGL. Fostered this enormous ecosystem of third-party creators, fans, indie designers, building on Pathfinder's rules.
So a collaborative approach challenging the closed system.
Exactly. Allowed an explosion of creativity, community-driven content.
So she's described as this transformative presence, someone who collects companies and communities, rebuilding both after every brushfire or crash. Her vision redefined how RPGs get designed, funded, delivered.
Precisely. Her foresight pushed things like crowdfunding strategies years before they were widespread. She built collaborative work cultures, emphasizing mentorship, diversity, recognizing a varied talent pool meant better games.
She set new norms then?
Absolutely. Redrawing the map for imports and distribution, making games more available, championing inclusivity metrics as business imperatives, arguing diversity wasn't just moral, but smart business. Helped develop industry standards, advocated for diverse talent at all levels.
Ensuring the field could keep growing, diversifying.
Yeah. The source says, to work in publishing after Stevens is to live within her shadow. But her lasting gift is a field resilient enough to welcome those who walk further than she could have ever imagined. She didn't just adapt, she fundamentally reshaped the industry. For the better, made it more robust, more open. And if we bring it back, to the overarching theme here, it's that legacies, when left to ossify, breed fossilized versions of the truth.
Right, flattened hierarchies, only celebrating the loudest names.
Exactly, ignoring the nuanced, complex reality. The real shape of RPG culture, though, it emerges from a mosaic of invention, cross-pollination, and stubborn perseverance.
And these women were crucial weavers in that mosaic.
Absolutely. In their myriad ways, they helped weave the intricate lattice of rules, setting, and social practice that defines what a role-playing game means. And their ongoing influence, whether we consciously recognize it or not, it pulses across every new system, every game table, and every digital platform we use today.
That's why it's so vital to recognize these pioneers, because it lets us read the genre in full resolution, see the complete, vibrant picture. Their contributions truly widen the circle, remove those velvet ropes, sometimes implicit, sometimes explicit, pushing new mechanics and experimental publishing, reminding everyone that play's richest magic. It lies in that collision of difference.
They didn't just add to the story, they changed the narrative about who could participate, who could create, how those creations reached the world.
In doing so, their contributions stitched together space for pluralism, for surprise, for an RPG future expansive enough to hold all who dare to dream.
Yeah, forged a path where so many diverse voices could find a place, could thrive, contribute to that collective storytelling. It's a legacy of opening doors.
And this trail they blazed, mapped by so many hands, it demands constant attention, doesn't it? An active remembering that goes beyond just official credits, toward that messy, glorious ledger of creative exchange.
It's not a one-and-done history lesson, it's ongoing. A practice of acknowledgement, appreciation, looking beyond the famous names, recognizing that vast network of collaboration.
And by honoring these women's achievements, we not only write the record, giving that long overdue recognition, but also charge every player, designer, and publisher with the task of defending, expanding, and diversifying the field anew.
It's a continuous responsibility, isn't it? To uphold and build upon those inclusive, innovative foundations they so courageously laid.
We truly hope this deep dive has offered you a fresh perspective on the rich, complex history of tabletop RPGs, showing just how many hands, often hidden, contributed to the magic, the possibilities we enjoy today. Now, we want to hear from you. We invite you to kick back, share your favorite stories, inspirations from influential women in tabletop RPG history in the comments or wherever you're listening.
Yeah, definitely share those.
And a huge thank you, of course, to LitRPG Reads for this incredibly insightful article that really sparked our whole conversation.
And a special thank you to Heidi Jiang. Her excellent writing made this exploration possible with such depth, such clarity. And to Paul Bello, a fine fellow, for building such a valuable resource in LitRPG Reads itself.
Yeah, great site.
For those curious about Heidi, she's a native Hoosier, loves gaming, especially Super Mario, and admits to a fondness for books with mushrooms on the cover. She lives in Indiana with her family, dog Lucky, cat Oliver, also a seasoned book reviewer, freelance copy editor, executive editor. She really knows her stuff.
Clearly.
So, as we continue to roll the dice, spiral off into unpredictable campaigns, remember this. The healthiest games, the most vibrant, enduring worlds, they grow in soil turned by many hands. What does recognizing this diverse, often overlooked past empower you to imagine for the future of play?